I'd like to call the June 25th, 2019 City of Gardner Planning Commission meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm going to start roll call, and I'm going to be different. I'm going to start from my left.
Gardenhire present.
Roberts here.
Bowden here.
McNair here.
Okay. A quorum is present. All matters listed within the consent agenda have been distributed to each member of the Planning Commission for study. These items are considered to be routine and will be enacted upon by one motion under no separate discussion. If separate discussion is desired of an item from either the Planning Commission or from the floor, that agenda item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda. Okay. Are there any items any members of the commission would like to be removed from the consent agenda? Any items any member of the public would like to have removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. A motion by, you were so fast, by McNair and seconded by Bowden for the consent agenda to be approved. Oh, we have to vote now, right? Sorry. I'm usually better than this, I'm sorry. Motion to approve the consent agenda was made by Commissioner McNair, seconded by Bowden. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries 4-0. Okay, we are on to the regular agenda item number 1. Does staff have a presentation?
Yes, we do. If I can figure out how to run this thing. Hi, my name is Robert Case with the Community and Economic Development Department for the City of Gardner. And we're going to talk about Ace Hardware. The site is Zone C3 and has an existing 16,000 square foot retail building on the property. The existing building was built in 1999 after it was platted that same year. Property is located within the New Century Air Center interest area and will need to be reviewed by the Johnson County Airport Authority and County Commission prior to the issuance of any building permits. The existing land use is consistent with the Gardner Comprehensive Plan and specifically the Gardner Main Street Corridor Plan. The project brought forth to you today is for a 3,575 square foot expansion onto the west rear portion of the existing 16,000 square foot building. Directly to the north, south, and east of this site are commercial buildings. To the west of this building is a multifamily development. The new addition to this building will allow for added storage space for goods which are currently being stored outside along the back side and south side of the existing building. The proposed expansion will be constructed from the same ribbed metal siding that matches the size of the existing building. A total of 52 parking spaces are proposed, with 35 on site and an additional 17 to be located on the adjacent lot just to the south of the store. The newly expanded building will also have an at-grade loading dock, which will be accessed through a cross-access easement. Additional landscaping will be provided to bring the site up to today's standards, with added landscaping along the back property line to buffer the multifamily development to the west. And as you can see, all the green shaded areas on this plan are all the new landscaping. The red area is the 3,500 square foot expansion area, and of course, the blue is the new loading dock. Staff finds that this proposal is consistent with the Gardner Main Street Corridor Plan, which identifies the property for community mixed use. Community mixed use areas are intended to provide retail and professional services. Retail is included among the preferred uses for this future land use area. Staff recommends approval of the proposed site plan with conditions outlined below. Review and approval at the Johnson County Airport Commission and Board of County Commission shall be completed prior to the issuance of a building permit. And recording a cross-access and parking easement with the adjacent property owner to the south of this proposed site prior to the issuance of a building permit also. Suggested motion is after review of the application SP 1903, a site plan for 240 North Moonlight Road and site plan dated June 3rd, 2019, the Planning Commission approves the application provided the following conditions are met. Review and approval at the Johnson County Airport Commission and Board of County Commission shall be completed prior to the issuance of a building permit. Recording a cross-access easement and parking easement with the adjacent property owners to the south of this proposed site prior to the issuance of a building permit. Any questions?
None, I'm good.
Nope. For some reason, I thought there were 3 conditions. Was I mistaken, or is there just 2?
Just two.
Just do.
Only see two.
Only 2 in the package. Must have been an alternate universe in my.
Okay, does the applicant have any presentation or anything to add? And please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. I'll be brief. I'm Larry Lisbona. I'm Lisbona Architects, Shawnee, Kansas. We have no issues with anything that's said here. I wanted to say that I'm here on behalf of the owner. Owner's rep is here and the civil engineers also, if you have any questions. The main reason I wanted to step up here, though, is just make a clarification. I even pulled out my calculator. The building's not big, but the addition is actually 3625. It's 25 by 145. So when I saw the 3575, it's 50 square feet difference. So I don't know whether that creates any issues, but I want to make sure everybody's aware of it. So I don't have any presentation other than to say we concur with everything that was said. We intend to match the building exactly the way it is, and if there are any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. But that was the only thing I wanted to put on the record. So.
Okay.
Well, site plan says 3575.
Oh, it does?
That's where that came from, so,
The addition is 25 feet.
but it's drawn correctly on here.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So when we are ready for a motion, do we need to have any clarification, or is it fine without? Okay. Okay. Let's see here. Are there any questions for the applicant from the commissioners?
I'm good.
I'm happy to see a local business expand. That's all I have.
Are there any others wishing to speak on this item? Okay. Let's see here. So I guess if we don't have any questions, I would entertain a motion.
After review of application SP-19-03, a site plan for 240 North Moonlight Road, and site plan dated June 3rd, 2019, the Planning Commission approves the application providing the following conditions are met. Number 1, review and approval at the Johnson County Airport Commission and Board of County Commission shall be completed prior to the issuance of a building permit. And number 2, recording a cross-access and parking easement with the adjacent property owner to the south of this proposed site prior to the issuance of a building permit.
Second.
have a point of order question.
Okay.
Did we close the public hearing?
It wasn't a public.
Or it wasn't a public hearing? I'm sorry. I'm 0 for 2 today. Go ahead.
Okay. Is there any discussion of the motion?
No.
Motion made by Commissioner Bowden, seconded by Commissioner McNair, as published. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Okay, we are now ready for item number 2, which is Waverly Plaza, located at the northeast corner of Waverly Road and West Santa Fe Street. And we have a final development plan, FDP 19-02 and FP 1903. And I believe staff is ready to present, and they're probably gonna do both at the same time, right?
Yes.
Okay, we are ready.
Good evening, Commissioners. Michelle Leiniger, Principal Planner. What I'll do with this item is I'll present the final plat first, and then you can discuss and take action on that, and then we'll carry on. That way things don't get confusing as to what you're talking about. So first we'll go through the plat. Just a reference, you've seen the preliminary development plan, preliminary plat and rezoning earlier this year for this property. This is the subject properties outlined in blue. It's at the northeast corner of Waverly Road and Santa Fe. Staff findings for the plat. It's in substantial compliance with the approved preliminary plat. The only change, this is the plat, a slightly revised one from what you've seen. We've discovered that with the project that the city is moving forward with for the reconstruction of Santa Fe, we have kind of two moving projects here and some additional right-of-way at the corner of that intersection was deemed necessary. That was something that we discovered late. So we've had the applicant tweak the drawing so you could visualize what it looks like. As you can see, here's the zoom in of it. It's really clipping the corner off. Wanted you to see this because it has some effect on obviously the excise tax, but some issues in the final development plan that we'll talk about. The public improvements for this project, including Washington and Laurel Streets, are anticipated to be worked on at the same time or around the same time as the reconstruction of West Santa Fe Street. Project is in conformance with the comprehensive plan. And the excise tax, this is a recalculated amount. It just a little bit different. So you'll see that there, the amount is actually calculated at that point in time in case some other things pop up. So we calculate it when they would be anticipating bringing in the plat. That's why the conditions on the final plat do not have a specific number in it, so that allows us to make sure that we're getting the correct amount without having to come back. Staff recommendation is for approval with following conditions. Revise the city signature blocks to be the current planning commission chair and mayor. Revise the note on the dedication section regarding tract A to include a reference that is for the purpose of the residents, amenities, clubhouse, and pool for the residents of lot 3. That's just a clarification so that we don't get that lot separated from the apartments. And update the plat document to reflect the most recent geometrics of West Santa Fe Street reconstruction project. Move the north-south easement running along the east side of lots 1 and 2, the west side of the lot 3. That was something that was discussed in the preliminary or the final development plan. It's just flipping the easement from one side of the property line to the other to address the signs. Number 5, prior to the mayor signing the approved recordable plat, the applicable excise tax shall be paid to the city. The construction plans for any utilities, infrastructure, or public facilities shall meet all the technical specifications, and public improvement plans shall be submitted and approved prior to the release of the plat for recording, and recommends the governing body accept the dedication of right-of-way and easements. And I'll leave you there.
Okay, does the applicant have any presentation that they'd like to give us? And we need your name and address as well.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. My name is Judd Clausen. I'm with Phelps Engineering, 1270 North Winchester, Olathe, Kansas. With me here tonight is our development team, Philip and Greg DeVilbus, and Tim Homburg with NSPJ Architects. So I know that may be more important as we get into the final development plan. Plat is pretty straightforward. We agree with the stipulations. Had kind of a last minute change late last week before the staff report came out, and Michelle showed you some of the things that we had to tweak a little bit. But yeah, we're good with all this, and we appreciate your consideration tonight.
While you're up here, does the commissioners have any questions for the applicant?
No.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Does anybody have any questions for staff?
No.
No? Okay. Well, I guess I'd entertain a motion if we're ready.
After review of application FP-19-03, a final plat for Waverly Plaza, tax ID CF 221423-2004, CF 221423-2011, CF 221423-2001, and final plat document dated June 14th, 2019, and staff report dated June 25th, 2019. The Planning Commission approves the application as proposed, provided the following conditions are met. Number 1, revise city signature blocks to be the current Planning Commission chair and mayor. 2, revise the note in the dedication section regarding tract A to include a reference that it is for the purpose of residence amenities, clubhouse and pool for the residences of Lot 3. 3, update the plat to reflect the most recent geometrics of the West Santa Fe Street reconstruction project. 4, move the north-south easement running along the east side of lots 1 and 2 to the west side of lot 3. 5, prior to the mayor signing an approved recordable plat, the applicable excise tax shall be paid to the city. 6, the construction plans for any utilities, infrastructure, or public facilities shall meet all technical specifications, and public improvement plans shall be submitted and approved prior to the release of the plat for recording, and recommends the governing body accept dedication of right-of-way and easements.
Second.
Okay, are there any discussions of the motion?
Nope.
Okay. The motion was made by Commissioner Bowden and second by Commissioner Gardenhauer as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Okay, we're on to the next, on to item 2B.
On to the final development plan. Maybe. Here's a large overview of the project. This final development plan covers Tract A, which is the clubhouse, Lot 3, which is the apartment complexes, and Lot 1, which is 3 commercial buildings. Lot 2 is not part of the final development plan, and that we would see later, the final development plan at a later date. Just to go through some of the details of the residential portion of the development plan. As you can see, it's the eastern portion. This is an elevation of the clubhouse. This is the front elevation. As you can see, there's details as far as roof lines that are similar to residential type roofs, stucco, stone, brick materials. Those are all included on all of the structures. This is just a close-up of, it's actually the landscaping portion, but of Tract A, so you can visualize what the site looks like. With the preliminary development plan and rezoning, there was a lot of comments by the surrounding neighborhoods. I did send this to the homeowners association for the townhomes, so they did get to see this. I received no comments. As you can see, there is a significant amount of landscaping. What you see, the darker circles, this is the page that shows the details of the shrubs. The kind of grayed out circles are going to be the trees. So this gives you a big picture of what you're going to see on site for landscaping, which is way over and above what is required. On top of that, there is a fence that is proposed, and you can also see the details of what they're proposing inside the building. On to the residential structures. The top building is the larger building, and they're pretty much the same front to back, very similar. And then the bottom elevation is the smaller buildings that you see in the plans. The two bigger buildings are along Laurel, and then the smaller buildings are the three that are further back. I didn't include the elevations of the garage. They look like garages. No issue with that. The commercial sections, as you can see with the labels, the furthest east building is labeled A and then goes counterclockwise, B at the top, C on the left. This is building A. These are the elevations that are going to face a road. I didn't include all of the elevations, but you can see that there is varying roof lines, there are projections, there's awnings provided, there's corner details where it says bar and grill. That portion is elevated on the building to show emphasis. There's a lot of details provided on the elevations with material changes and elevation changes. You can also see the lighting details on these also. Here is building B to the north. The top elevation is what faces interior to the site. The bottom is what faces the property to the north, or Washington Street. If you remember, the property to the north is property that is owned by the school district. The middle elevation is the west elevation, so what faces Waverly Road. These are the elevations for building C. The west elevation is what's going to face Waverly, and then the south elevation is what is going to face more or less the interior to the site, or the undeveloped lot 2 at this point. Again, there's similar details from across the residential to the commercial. They have changes in elevation, similar roof lines, which are similar to what you would see on residential, similar materials, and then the middle is the south elevation. Staff findings: the site is capable of accommodating the building's uses and other site design elements. The design and arrangement of buildings and open space is consistent with good planning and landscape design. You'll notice there was many pages of landscaping, a lot of detail and thought put into the landscaping. Architectural and building design uses quality materials. As I stated, we have bricks, we have stucco, there are stone, there's some architectural details around the top of some of the roofs. The style is appropriate for the context. A lot of those details kind of play into a residential feel. The plan is in substantial compliance with approved preliminary development plan. We do have some deviations for the site. I'll go through those. Most of them, they fall into two categories. They either deal with signs or they deal with the landscaping, buffer landscaping to be specific. The first one is regarding the, let me see, the sign that is shared, well, it's not shared. The sign that is along the shared access off of West Santa Fe Street. The standard is a 10-foot minimum setback from all right-of-way lines, and the proposed is approximately a half a foot from the east property line. Here's the visual that you saw in your staff report. It gives you where the property lines are. There is a 20-foot utility easement that runs along the south side of the properties. This is what we ran into with the locations of the sign. As you can see, the green utility easement, as proposed originally, it was on the other side of that property line. So this green box reflects what we discussed with the applicant to have that moved, and that was one of the conditions that was recommended on the final plat, was to change that over to the other side. This red box is approximate location of the sign. As you can see, the sign in relation to the property lines, the future retail business, there's not a lot of space for it to shuffle around. You can't move the sign to the other side of the property line because the sign has to be on the lot of which the businesses is located. On the other side of the property line is a residential. And as you can see that the sign is really set back from that driveway a significant amount. This is the revised drawing that the applicant provided. They have shifted that sign to the north and then shifted the easement to the other side of the property line. So that's what, in theory, it would look like out of those easements and pushed to the north on the property. Staff does support this deviation. Deviation 2, did I push the pause button? Okay. And we're taking a minute.
Okay, we have technical difficulties, so I guess we're
Yes.
officially pausing the meeting.
We
For anybody
are,
that's
we're
out there
gonna take a
watching.
minute for the computer to reboot. I can continue, but the visualizations help. So we'll just wait.
according to Tom Petty, this is the hardest part. At least one person got it. I got one laugh.
Okay, we are back.
Okay, we're carrying on. We did this one. No, we didn't do this one. Okay, deviation 2 is for sign allowances. Setback, this is for the sign on the corner of Waverly and Santa Fe. Maximum size is 25 square feet at the minimum 10 feet from the property line. And then you can obtain an additional 10 square feet per each additional 5-foot setback to a maximum of 65 square feet per sign. Proposed is 70 square feet for the sign, setback at 10 feet from the property. So this was the visual in your excuse me, staff report. It gives you reference as to where the revised property line is, the distance from the residential property. Here's the revised property line. You can see it says right away, and then there's a 10-foot easement that is offset from that, and that is where the sign is sitting. The sign is too close for the size, and then the size exceeds the maximum. It is 70 square feet, so they need an additional 45 square feet of signage, setback 25 feet from the property line. If you look at the site plan, this is a intersection of two arterial streets. The sign is set back a significant amount from the street, and it's not typical that we have intersections that have the corners cut off like that. With the size of the sign and just a visual, here's what the sign looks like. That what looks like black polka dots, the background, it's actually a mesh. So you are seeing it's not a solid stone sign. It does have some properties that you can see through it. It makes it a lighter sign, makes it less impactful to the area. Go back to this. So staff does feel comfortable supporting the deviation for the larger sign, setback 10 feet from the property line. Deviation 3 is for the electronic message sign. As you can see in this visual, the center square is the amount of visual electronic sign that is proposed. That is not the issue, the size of it. It is the setback. The standard is that the visible sign face shall be set back at least 250 feet from any adjacent residentially zoned property. The proposed is approximately 125 feet from an R1 zoned property. Here's your visuals again. These two together kind of paint the picture of while the yellow box is where the district is, and then the black with where it's pointing, the blue box is residential property lines. There's a gas substation at that intersection too. That's not anybody's shed or any of that. It's a substation sitting there. It's about 125 feet from that rear property line. If you look at the aerial, that is Waverly Road does have a large right-of-way, being that is an arterial, and then it's the back of those residential properties that is abutting Waverly Road. So in addition to that right-of-way, you're going to have the residential setbacks before you're going to see the residences. In addition, electronic message signs are required to have automatic dimming controls and 10 seconds between changes with no scrolling, flashing, or animated transitions. Staff does support this deviation. Deviation 4 and 5, these ones have to do with buffer yards. We've talked about these with many of the development plans and site plans that we've brought before you. We're going to look at this. With the buffer yard being cumulative for frontage landscaping, foundation planting landscaping, and street trees, it gets to be a lot of landscaping. So the first deviation is for the CP2 to RP3, which is a level 3 buffer yard. So that's the north property line of the commercial to the vacant school district property. They're supposed to have 13 trees. They have 5 trees proposed. Go to this. It's what you see along Washington Street. These are just, this visual just shows the trees. It doesn't additionally show the shrubs that are included for other standards. So staff feels that since this is, adjacent to property that is going to be used for school district property, likely to be some sort of athletic fields, things like that. And it is also the drainage pond for the development, that with them providing 5 of the 13 trees in addition to the street trees and the foundation landscaping of that building, and then there's also landscaping along there specifically for the screening of the parking, that altogether that is significant enough, and staff does support this deviation. Number 5, it's the section regarding the buffer plantings for CP2 to R1. Again, this is a level 3 buffer yard, and this is a west property line. So this is the Waverly Road portion. As you can see in here, there is not much space between the property line, which is the east side of the sidewalk that you see there. There's not a lot of space, though they do meet setback between the sidewalk and the buildings. They are required to have 8 trees. No, they're required to have 11 trees and 14 evergreens. They're proposing 8 trees and 12 evergreens that specifically meet the standard for the buffer yard. Again, they have foundation plantings along this side and street trees along this side. It gets to be a point in those areas where that landscaping, if all of that is put in, it won't survive. They will crowd each other out. We don't want people to spend money on landscaping that's not going to survive, and to have that not look good on their property or in the city. So as they have proposed 8 trees and 12 evergreens, they're just shy of meeting the standard. Staff does support this. Additionally, as mentioned in the staff report, there is overhead power lines that run along the sidewalk basically on that property. So all of the trees that are there will have to be changed to small trees so that they're not interfering with those property or with those overhead power lines. So adding more fuel to the fire with a lot more landscaping won't help there either. Last deviation is again for buffer plantings. This is for the shared property line. The standard is for 21 trees, evergreen trees, proposed is 19. Here is a visual showing the shared property line. The red squares are the garages. So between the garages and the parking on the west, you can see that There's landscaping between there and the property line. Between those two things, the proposed landscaping and the garages, staff feels that there's a significant enough buffering from the residential actual structures to meet the standards, so staff does support this deviation. Now, as I explained in the staff report, this project has had one less review time. Typically, you don't see projects come through with this many conditions as a recommendation. These are all just mostly minor details. The applicant has already fixed some of the stuff, but just to make sure that it comes through, we are keeping these conditions on here. I'll just go through these. Staff does recommend approval of the final development plan for phase 1 and phase 2 of Waverly Plaza with the 17 conditions. That the final plat for Waverly Plaza is recorded with RTA prior to the release of the building permit. Revised civil plan sheet to show tract 1A and A1 and A2 as tract A. The plat shows it combined, the civil sheets don't. It's just a minor change. Provide material type for the doors on the trash enclosure. The note is referenced for note 16. There's nothing actually in the key. Again, minor detail. Provide material and heights for the fence around the dog park and pool areas. Provide the awning material on the commercial building elevation sheets. Provide information for any lighting on the clubhouse. I think my numbering got off. I think there's 18. Provide information for any lighting, that's duplicated, okay. Move the proposed signage out of any utility easements. As I showed you, that's already revision that happened, but need to make sure that that's carried through the other pages. Revise the lighting plan to show pole lights in the driveway and parking areas in the residentially zoned area to be no taller than 25 feet. That is a standard in the code that is not met. The proposals for 30-foot pole heights. Revise the identified sidewalks, and there's a visual in the staff report about this, that are primary routes between the street or parking areas and the building entrance to be 8 foot wide. This is something that's carried over from the preliminary development plan. It was a deviation that was not approved, so we're just kind of cleaning up some of that. Sometimes it's really hard to determine which is considered primary routes and which is not. Revise the landscaping plan on the commercial side to provide for 31 more shrubs in the parking areas that front the streets. I think this was just an oversight. There weren't anything shown for shrubbery on the parking areas for the commercial. Revise the landscaping plan on the excuse me, on the residential side to provide for 9 more shrubs in the parking areas that front the street. Again, similar as the previous standard. Revise the landscaping plan to show small trees instead of medium and large trees in the area of the commercial site between Waverly Road and the westernmost buildings. Again, this is because of the overhead power lines. Revise the plans to remove the northern 2 parking stalls in the southbound side of Laurel Street, just south of the intersection of Washington and Laurel Streets. This was described in the transportation streets section. It's just a situation where we're trying to prevent people backing into that intersection of Laurel and Washington while somebody's coming around the corner. It's a safety issue. Revise the plans to show 33 feet of pavement, 37 back of curb to back of curb on Washington Street, the intersection of Waverly and Washington Street to provide for 3 11-foot wide lanes. This is just clarification. Revise any 6-foot sidewalks along Washington Street to be 5 foot wide. This is something that the city engineer has asked for. Update the plans to reflect the most recent geometrics of the West Santa Fe Street reconstruction project. That is similar to the final plat, just to make sure that the property lines are correct. Update the plans to reflect the north-south easement running along the east side of lots 1 and 2 to the west side of lot 3, and update the proposed electric lines within that easement to show the change. If you look on the utility pages, you can see a proposed electric line running in that place. So we just want to make sure that our plans show that that easement and that electric line are moved appropriately. That is all I have. That's a lot of information. So if you have any questions, let me know.
Do you have any questions for staff?
No. Not at this moment.
Did the applicant have anything additional to add on this item?
I can talk.
Sure.
I'm
Stay.
Philip DeVilbiss, and on behalf of my son, my partner, and our team, both Tim and Judd, you can look and see our project down at Moonlight Plaza and see where I didn't have a good enough team on that project, nor did the city have a good enough team. We planted street trees to who wouldn't have it, along with bushes and all. And then the city and government changed their mind and put the big power lines, steel lines, along with the city's electrical lines. And all the trees had to be cut down and pulled out. All the shrubs cost us tens and tens of thousands of dollars for that. But if the way we take care of it is important, it's not how many trees you put in. And people are wanting to know, how we're going to take care of the property. As I said in other meetings, go look and see what we've done. Don't listen to what we say we're going to do, and you'll be real proud of what we're doing. On behalf of the city, I want to publicly comment that every bit, Christy, Michelle, just everybody here, it's been a pleasure. We try to adhere to what you're wanting us to do, and we react very quickly, and we're amenable to, if it makes sense, just go ahead and make those things. Larry and this young lady, Kelly Drake, has helped us a great deal to do this, to get it. This is a major project for our family. It's a major project for the city, and we're just tickled to death to be a part of it and have this be the start. And I just want to thank you publicly.
Okay, any other comments? Okay. No questions, I guess, so I'd entertain a motion.
After review of application FDP-19-02, a final development plan for Waverly Plaza, tax IDs CF 221423-2004, CF 221423-2011, CF 221423-2001, and final development plan dated June 14th, 2019, and staff report dated June 25th, 2019, the Planning Commission approves the application as proposed, provided the following conditions are met. 1, the final plat for Waverly Plaza is recorded with the Records and Tax Administration, RTA, prior to the release of a building permit. 2, revise civil plan sheets to show Tract A1 and Tract A2 as Tract A. 3, provide the material type for the doors on the trash enclosures elevation sheet D2.34, note 16, and the key is blank. Number 4, provide materials and height of the fence around the dog park and pool areas. Number 5, provide the awning materials on the commercial building elevation sheets. Number 6, provide information for any lighting on the clubhouse. Number 7, move the proposed signage out of any utility easements. Number 8, revise the lighting plan to show pole lights in driveways and parking areas in the residentially zoned area to be no taller than 25 feet. Number 9, revise the identified sidewalks that are primary routes between the street or parking area and the building entrance to be 8 foot wide. Number 10, revise the landscaping plan on the commercial site to provide for 31 more shrubs in the parking areas that front streets. Number 11, revise the landscaping plan on the residential site to provide for 9 more shrubs in the parking areas that front streets. Number 12, revise the landscaping plan to show trees instead of medium and large trees in the areas of the commercial site between Waverly Road and the westernmost buildings. Number 13, revise the plans to remove the northern 2 parking stalls on the southbound side of Laurel Street, just south of the intersection of Washington and Laurel Streets. Number 14, revise the plans to show 33 feet of pavement, 37 feet back of curb to back of curb on Washington Street at the intersection of Waverly Road and Washington Street to provide for 3 through 11 foot wide lanes. Number 15, revise any 6-foot sidewalks along Washington Street to be 5 feet wide. Number 16, update the plans to reflect the most recent geometrics of the West Santa Fe Street reconstruction project. And number 17, update the plans to reflect the north-south easement running along the east side of lots 1 and 2 to the west side of lot 3, and update proposed electric lines within that easement to show that change.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion of the motion? Motion was made by Commissioner Gardner and seconded by Commissioner McNear as stated with the 17 following conditions, the 17 conditions. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Okay, yay. Any other items from staff or the commissioners? Okay,
I would like to make a motion.
Wait, I see
Just
there's
kidding.
some,
I just wanted to let you know that last week, I don't know what it is this week, but last week we had over 500 responses to the survey regarding the civic spaces for the Gardner Destination Downtown Plan. And so we'll be updating you on what we heard pretty soon.
Thank you. Good.
okay, now, I think there was gonna be an emotion to adjourn.
I would like to make a motion to close the meeting.
Second.
Okay, a motion to adjourn was made by Commissioner Gardenhire and seconded by Commissioner Bowden. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Meeting is closed.